Have you been experiencing internal financial struggles triggered by economic concerns? Are you feeling capped at your current income level and can't seem to realize your financial potential? Energy healer Jean Border has created an emotional freedom technique, or EFT, tapping protocol to help calm the inner voice that keeps you stressed. Claim your free copy at jeanborder.com/vow and say goodbye to those financial blockages. Welcome to another episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast, Energy Work to Better Your Business, hosted by energy healer Jean Border. It's not just about dreaming, it's about making those dreams a practical reality. Subscribe to us via your favorite network by visiting our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com. Now, get ready. Your journey to success starts here.
Hello, everyone. It's your host, Jean Border, with another episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast, where we talk everything energy to help you better your business. I have a special guest with me here today, and we'll get to Lexi in just a minute. But for those of you energy people out there, as a reminder, there's a free resource for you down below. Just click in the link in the show notes. If you're having financial stress in your life, or if you've got to make a big financial decision and you're feeling a little bit stressed or tense about it, you want to do that from a place of calm, not a place of fear. So just go through the EFT tapping protocols that are right below. It's free. Just open it up, play along, tap along, let your central nervous system calm down, and make your decisions. And now, on with the show. We have Lexi Godlewski here today. She is a transformational person, which I really enjoy, energy people. So you're in for a ride. Hi, Lexi. How are you?
Hi, Jean. I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm so excited.
Yeah. For those listening who don't have access to the show notes right this minute, this is Lexi Godlewski. You can find her anywhere, pretty much, in social media or on her website, which is just hername.com, or the link is below in the show notes. Lexi, tell us a little bit about you. How did you get from where you are to where you are now? And what are some of the things you've experienced to get you here?
Oh, so many things. So let's dive in. So, hi, everybody. I am Lexi Godlewski. To give you an overview on who I am and what I do, I am a holistic marketing strategist, business consultant, transformational coach, TEDx speaker, and what I call a soultrepreneur. So I work with entrepreneurs and help them transform their life in business by leading with their soul first and then bringing in holistic marketing strategies to actually achieve their dreams. And I have transformed my own life and business multiple times over the past 7 years. So to give you some background on how I got to where I am today, growing up, all my life, I followed the path that I always thought I, quote unquote, was supposed to take. So I went to school, got good grades, did all the extracurriculars, did all the things. And when I was a senior in college, I went to school for business and marketing. My senior year, I actually started in between classes and work, just coaching my friends and consulting startups on their marketing from the college dining hall. And I had started this little passion-driven side hustle. After I graduated, I continued to follow this path that was pretty much paved out for me. And I went and got a full-time marketing job, was doing very well in it. I was 22 years old and getting promoted and pay raises and hiring team members to work on my team with me. And I was just thriving. This was what I worked so hard for throughout school, was to make it to this moment, to get a career and start to climb this corporate ladder and do all the things. And so while I had all of this external success that I was achieving, internally, it was an entirely different story. And nobody knew that I was depressed, having daily anxiety attacks. I hated getting out of bed to go to work every day. But I would show up to work and do what I needed to do and put a smile on my face. So no one knew the inner battle that I was going through. And I never talked about it to anyone. I just kept it to myself. And at that point thought, well, this is adulthood now. Like now the rest of my life, I just show up to a job I don't enjoy. And this is just what you do. And that was kind of what my mindset was at the time. And there was this deeper calling in me throughout that whole experience that just knew that there had to be more to life than that. There had to be more to life than just every day showing up to a job that was unfulfilling and I didn't enjoy and I felt like I wasn't making impact. Like there was just this deeper calling in me that kept whispering to me and saying like there's more out there. And so I started to hear that whisper throughout my time working in the corporate world. And one of my dreams has always been to start my own business and to grow my own business. So I felt when I was working this job that I felt like my soul was dying. I know that sounds dramatic, but doing this day after day and showing up in a way that was inauthentic to me and to what I knew I was possible of doing, very much so felt like that. But what I didn't realize is that I wasn't the only one feeling that way. So on one Wednesday that seemed just like any other, I showed up for work and I had this gut instinct that day that something was going to change. And I didn't know what that meant. I thought maybe today's the day that I'm going to just put my 2 weeks in and call it a day. Or, I just knew that something was going to happen that day, but I didn't know what it was. And so I showed up and we had a big marketing promotion going on that day. So I started getting ready for it. And one of our team members didn't show up on time to work that morning. And we figured, there's a bunch of meetings going on in the morning. Maybe she's in one of those. So we texted her, waited, and then the afternoon rolled around and we still hadn't heard back from her. We tried texting her, calling her. We didn't hear anything. Everyone got out of their meetings. She still didn't show up at her desk. So now we were naturally getting concerned and getting worried on where she was. And one of my other coworkers somehow managed to find the other's boyfriend's phone number and gave him a call. And what we found out is that suddenly and unexpectedly, our coworker took her own life the night before. And that was life-changing for me in that moment, because after that, I consider myself to be a very emotionally intelligent person, and I had no idea that she was feeling that way. And with me fighting my own inner demons as well, I couldn't help but ask how many other people are out there fighting these inner demons that we know nothing about, that are suffering from, daily anxiety attacks like I was at the time, or depression, or just being unfulfilled with their life. And so after that happened, it was really challenging for me to sit in meetings and talk about trivial topics of, are we going to give away this coffee maker or this magic bullet or whatever, knowing that there's other people around me who are also feeling unfulfilled and wanting more out of their life. And so after that happened, I decided to take a leap of faith and follow my soul of becoming an entrepreneur. So 2 months after that happened, I decided to put my 2-week notice in, and I up and left that job to start my own business. And so at the time, I picked up side hustles to help pay the bills and really got back into that passion-driven side hustle that I started doing in my college dining hall. So I started coaching people and getting back into marketing and everything like that. And the more that I began to market my own business, even with a marketing background and a marketing degree, I found how many slimy, manipulative marketers are out there in the online space, just leveraging human psychology to make another sale. And that did not vibe with me. I said, there's got to be a better way than showing up online and feeling like you have to manipulate people to sell in your business. And so that's when I really combined these worlds of soul first as well as strategy. And that's when the whole idea of being a soulpreneur was really born, because I knew that there had to be a way to be able to bring your gifts and your dreams that you have and lead with that first, and then also market that business in an authentic yet strategic way. And so the more that I started to show up and do that and then start to teach other entrepreneurs how to do that, the more I saw how many entrepreneurs, especially a lot of us who are in to energy work or in this world, how many of us also resonated with that as well. Of we want to grow our business, we want to show up online, we want to make an impact. We want to do it in a way that's authentic and aligned for us, and yes, still strategic at the same time. So that naturally started to grow as well. And through that process, I transformed myself and my own life with the mindset work and the energy work and just all of the personal growth work. And then a few years after I left that job, I was living in New York at the time, living at my parents' house, and again had this epiphany of wanting to transform my life. And as I mentioned to you before we hit the record button, I kind of had this epiphany of my 20s were going by and I'm achieving this dream of building my business, yet I'm just sitting at my computer working by myself every day. And I thought to myself, there's got to be, again, more to life than just this. And that's when I decided to listen to my soul again and transform my life again. And I decided to up and move from New York to Hawaii, 5,000 miles away from home. It was a place I'd never been before. I didn't know anyone, but it was literally just this soul calling in me where I knew that I always wanted to live somewhere warm and by the ocean and have more experiences and adventures and that type of thing. So I literally sold my car in New York, bought a one-way ticket, packed 2 suitcases in a duffel bag, and just up and went to Hawaii. I told my family, let me go try this out for a year, see how it goes. And a year went by, and then I said, sorry, guys, I'm not leaving yet. And now it's been 3.5 years out here in Hawaii, and that's been a total transformation for my life as well. So I really try to continue to push myself as much as I can, and now take what I've learned and help other people transform their lives and transform their businesses too by leading with that soul piece first.
Several things that you said that I'll probably come back to, but the bit about you knew something was going to be different about that day. So many of us energy people are sensitive to energy changes, and sometimes we don't know what it is or why it is, but we get feelings that make sense later.
Yes.
Intuition is what I call it. Some people, we build in my world, we build these connections with people. We build these cords. Energy flows back and forth between us, right? These connections. And if something breaks that connection, it can almost be like what was that? Right?
Yeah.
Something is different and I don't know what it is. And then you find out later, in your case, that connection was broken.
Yeah.
And so something feels different energetically, but you don't know what it is until you see the physical proof of what actually happened.
And I remember too, after that happened, there was that same day that I went and sat in a meeting and thought to myself, I can't sit in this meeting and talk about trivial topics, knowing that there's people out there that are, going through similar things that I'm going through too. I remember sitting in that meeting and having the thought that was what I consider to be the soul calling of, what if I leave this and go start my own business? I remember after I had that thought, I literally got full body chills. And I remember in that moment also thinking to myself, because this was really the beginning of my personal growth and spiritual and energy journey. I remember thinking to myself, that's weird that I just got full body chills because I'm not even cold right now. And that started this whole insight and awareness for me beyond that, where now anytime I get full body chills, I know okay, that was the soul calling, or that's my intuition, or that's my gut trying to speak to me. And it's become this really beautiful just sign that I can tune into and acknowledge and become aware of. But that what you were saying reminded me of that too, of when you start to really tune into the energy and trust what your intuition is and your body is telling you, it can give you so many beautiful insights.
And that's huge. And so many people don't trust.
Yeah.
Because they're put off, or somebody says, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, or oh no, that's it, everything's fine. Well, maybe it's not fine, right?
Yeah.
So many people, what you believe to be true is true for you. Whether you think it's a great day or it's a lousy day, that is absolutely true for you.
Yeah.
Now, it may be different for the person sitting next to you, but I don't know what your truth is for that day.
Yeah.
But what experience has shown a lot of people, including myself, people have a tendency to hide when they're not feeling great, or when they're feeling like what's the point?
Yeah.
And so that's when we find out when it's too late to help.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I should have known. Well, your truth was, if they needed help, they would tell you. Their truth was, I'm not going to burden anybody else with my problems.
Yeah.
And that's sad, but that's the way we are, you know? We each on our own journey. We each have our own history that allows us to create our own belief systems. And your belief system allowed you to keep creating new things, which is really cool. That adventurous spirit that allowed you to pick up and leave New York and go to Hawaii. Some of us, I'm throwing myself in with you because I'm very drawn to the water and the sun.
Me too. Oh, I'm the same way. I can't live without it now.
Yeah, I was always a sun baby. I was, it's the sun. It's going to damage your skin. Well, it's the sun. It's been, it's been there ever since humans have lived. It's really going to kill you. We wouldn't exist, Yeah. You got to take everything with a grain of salt and figure out what their agenda is behind their message, right? And if their message is to sell sunscreen, they're going to, don't go out without SPF 99. You can stay out in the sun 99 times longer, but reapply it all the time and keep buying more. It's like, really? Common sense might be a better filter for that. But anyway, yeah. So it's cool that you are the adventurer.
Thank you. That's not always how it's been received. So I really appreciate that outlook, because a lot of people, especially being born and raised in a small town, a lot of people, each time that I chose to transform my life, were very skeptical of that, of why would you leave the comfort of this familiar town that you know? Why would you leave your family and your friends? Why would you move to the most expensive place in the US? Why would you do all these things? It really, anytime that I led with my soul first, it was met with a lot of others' doubts and fears. And who are you to go do that? And I have had to learn throughout the years that my soul callings and my intuition, my gut, and my dreams, those are in me for a reason, and they're not in other people for a reason. So a lot of times when you follow those dreams, you're going to be met with the people who that scares them, or they have doubts, because your dream is not their dream. It's your dream for a reason. So of course they don't understand it, because they have their own dreams, and most people aren't pursuing their dreams because they're scared and there's doubt and anxiety and everything like that. So the more that you can really trust that inner voice in you, and trust, even if you don't know where it's leading you yet, just trust that it's trying to bring you somewhere bigger than you've ever been or better than you've ever experienced. That was a huge game changer for me. And one of the things that I've really learned over the years too is that your mind is not built to keep you happy. It's built to keep you alive. And so your mind is always using past experiences and past memories to make sure it is safe. So a lot of times when you're going to do something you've never done before, expand outside your comfort zone, your mind is going to come up with all the fears and the doubts, because it's just trying to keep you safe, and it's using only what it's gone through in the past and those past beliefs and fears to keep you safe. But your soul knows what else is out there. It knows what else is possible. So understanding that your mind can only see what you've done and is trying to keep you safe, but your soul knows what else is out there. And the more that you can start to trust that and lean into that, the more that it has really shown me truly what is actually possible and how good life can get. And when I made that switch from only operating from my head and the shoulds and the path I should take and what everyone else is doing, what I should do, to listening and leading with my soul first and then my head, that has drastically changed my life and really shown me what's actually possible versus just, what my mind was used to and trying to keep me safe from.
Yeah, that internal filter that we all have of, is this safe? That does keep us alive. And that's why it exists, right?
Yeah.
It's really more useful to think of it as a yellow light instead of a red light, right? But some people are so to use your word, fearful, right? They're so afraid of stepping outside the norm, of leaving the small town, the safety of knowing who your neighbors are, of knowing who's not supposed to be at a certain place at a certain time of day or night, right? Of being able to feel more safe that way. And then you get up and leave and go across the country?
Yeah. People are like, how does this girl do it?
Are you nuts?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah. And so understanding that your mind can always see what you're either losing or walking away from, but it can't yet see what you're about to gain, and trusting that your soul knows what else you can gain and what else is out there and is trying to lead you to that if you just start to trust it and listen to it and act on it a little bit more.
So you had all these really cool experiences. How did you decide to use all that to grow your business?
That's a great question. I am a big believer in documenting the journey. And that's really what I've done from the start, to be honest with you, is I have brought people along this journey with me from day one of starting my own business. And so through social media, I really try to be authentic in my marketing and in my just story and who I am. And so I have brought people through this whole experience of really documenting the behind the scenes of what does it really take to transform your life and to transform your mindset and to build a business from scratch. And I started my own podcast back in 2019, and that is called Building My Empire, A Journey of Transformation. And that too is just a whole documented journey of me figuring out, how do I build a business? How do I authentically market a business? How do I change my life? How do I up and move 5,000 miles from home? And really bringing people along that journey with me. One of the top things I recommend for clients who are, especially, I work with a lot of service-based businesses. I work with a lot of coaches, therapists, just kind of that whole world. I always say to them, instead of feeling like you need to show up and create content, just document your journey and bring people along this journey with you of what you're learning. So even the emails that I send out, my email newsletter, are always a story of the time that I swam with sharks here in Hawaii, or, what I learned on this hike, or by doing this or by doing that. I really try to take my everyday life and business experiences and ask myself, what am I learning from this? And then how can I take that and how can I share that with my audience and share that with other people to help them too? And that's been really, really cool, because the more that I have just been myself and been authentic and been real about things of, here's my flaws too. Like, I'm not perfect. Here's what I tried this and I failed. Here's what I learned from that. The more it's really built connections with people, and people have come up to me to say, I really resonated with that podcast episode or what you put out on social media. Thank you for sharing that. And it's through those connections that have naturally made it much easier to market and sell in my business, because to me, it's really about building relationships with people, and then how can I add value to them and how can I help them? And most people in the online space, when they're marketing and building their business, they're asking themselves, how can I get more clients? How can I get more money? How can I get more followers? How can I get this, get that, blah, blah, blah. And what I really recommend to people is flip that on its head and ask, how can I give? How can I give more value? How can I give more to my audience? How can I give more to my current clients? How can I give my expertise, my skills, my knowledge, my wisdom? And when you come from that place of service and giving first, it's amazing to see how that attracts even more of the right people into your world. And then naturally, it makes it easier to market and to sell to them, because now when I hop on like sales calls with people, so much of the time, because I am so dialed in on who I am and my messaging and who I want to work with and how I do things different, people hop on a call with me and they ask, how can I work with you? Like, I don't even have to sell them, because I'm so dialed into just who I am and sharing my gifts with them and how I can add value. So that has been a really big game changer for me in building my business is not being afraid to share those stories with people, not being afraid to show some of those imperfections. Or if I have a typo in an email, honestly, I'll leave it just to show like I'm human. It's not AI writing this email, like it's Lexi behind the keyboard, you know? And so it's those little things that have really helped to just authentically and deeply build connections and relationships with people who then know, like, and trust you and naturally want to do business with you because of that.
Way back, years back, how did you get drawn into marketing? What drew you to it?
Great question. I remember when I was first signing up for business school, we had to choose pretty much the concentration. And there were a variety of options. It was like marketing was one. I think management was another. Finance was another. And there were like 2 other options. And I remember just saying to myself, you know what? Marketing sounds the most fun out of all 5 options. So we're going to go with that. And so I started business school and going through it and everything. And I originally wanted to get into the fashion industry. So I did internships in the fashion world. I did I even studied abroad to go study fashion. I did all these different things. And then my senior year of college, I did an internship with an HR consulting firm and I was doing marketing for them. And one of the consultants who worked there, I thought her job was so cool because she was like on these phone calls and then she was traveling and then blah, blah, blah. And I later found out she was a consultant for this company, but then also had her own life coaching business on the side. And I was at that point like, what is life coaching? I have no idea what that means, but that sounds really cool. And I found out that I was naturally coaching people my entire life. I just never knew it was a thing with a title that you could make money doing. And so her and I created this barter where she coached and mentored me. And in return, I did her marketing for her coaching business.
Oh, nice.
And so through that, I found how much creativity is in marketing, which I loved. I found how much psychology is in marketing, which I love, and how much fun you can really have with it. So it's funny because it was really that fun factor that drew me to it. And then once I really discovered how many slimy, manipulative marketers are out there, because so much of marketing is psychology, I just felt very driven to help people do things in a more authentic way. But it was really that fun creativity piece that has always drawn me to marketing.
Cool.
Yeah.
So when someone comes to you, what's your process of starting to work with someone?
Great question. When I work with a client, number one thing we do, no matter what industry they're in, no matter how much business success they have achieved thus far, no matter what they've got going on, we always start with the soul piece first. So top 3 things that I help them through and I work with them through is number 1, what is your vision? What's your vision for your business? What is your vision for your life? What is the vision for what you want to create? Because one of the things that greatly changed my life is when I first left that job to start my own business, I asked myself for the first time in my entire life, what is it that I actually want? And I still have the journal pages of my responses to those questions of, I really went deep and asked myself, what's the life I want? How do I want to show up? Who is the person I want to be? What's the impact I want to make? What are things I want to have? What are things I want to do? And if you go back and look at those journal entries, it's so funny because back then, 7 years ago, I wrote about, I want to live by the beach and in warm weather, and I want to go adventure with friends, and I want to travel, and I want to have my own business, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to have a podcast. And everything that I'm living today are things that I once talked about then. But I didn't even think to ask myself what I wanted because I was in such a mindset of, this is just the path that you're supposed to take. This is what you're supposed to do when you grow up. So starting with that question, asking myself for the first time, what is it that I want, was a huge game changer for me. And so I love to start with clients with that question too, because if you think that you need to build a business a certain way, but it's not actually the business that you want or what you want to maintain, then you're just going to burn yourself out and not be unfulfilled in the process, nor when you achieve those goals. But if we know right from the start, okay, here's the type of business I want to build. I want to work with X type of clients. I want to have digital products, I want to have a podcast, whatever, we can start creating that vision right from the beginning. So first and foremost, getting clear on what's the vision, what do they want? And then from there, asking, why do you want it? Because truth is, like, if you are just in entrepreneurship for the money, like, you're not going to last that long, because there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be challenging times, and there's going to be times that really test you in why you're doing this. But if you have a really strong, deeply rooted why of why you want to turn this dream into reality, why you want to experience that vision, and you can ground yourself in that from the start, then no matter what storm you're put through, if you have that why and can root yourself in that why, not only will it help you get through that storm, but also from a marketing perspective, there tend to be really good marketing elements in people's whys that we use later on to then market the business. So that's number two. Then number three, we look at what limiting beliefs or roadblocks have been getting in your way from achieving success. Because something I tell clients all the time is, I could sit and give you a marketing strategy right now of how to achieve those goals or make X amount in your business. But if you have a limiting belief that's saying, who am I to go make that amount of money? Or who am I to go show up on social media? Or who am I to go do this or do that? You're going to self-sabotage it and not execute on that strategy at all. So before we even talk about business and marketing strategy, let's look at what are those limiting beliefs and what are those roadblocks that are getting in the way, and let's transform those. So then we actually have the strategy set. You're ready to go take action on it and go do it. So for me, it's very much so that energy piece first, and that's in the soul piece of things. And then once we get the energy aligned, then it's the entrepreneur side of things. It's looking at the actual marketing strategy. You know, who's the dream customer? What's your messaging? What's your offer? What's the systems that we need in place? Kind of more of the tangible, tactical things. But for me, it's always that energy piece first. And then from there, looking at the aligned action that we need to take to turn it into reality.
Beliefs are funny.
Yeah, they are. Yes, they are.
Everything from, well, if I make more money, that's going to make me a rich person, and rich people are evil and greedy. So I don't want to be evil and greedy. So I guess I don't want to be rich. So I shouldn't make as much money. So I shouldn't. And then there's, well, my family's going to get upset if I make more than them, or if I do this thing like you did. You moved across the country, and your support system said, "Are you crazy?" Right?
Yeah.
So that's a mindset issue, a belief issue. What's going to happen if I try this thing? How are people going to look at me? Are they going to attack me? Will they think I'm disloyal? There are so many interesting beliefs out there that can come up and slow you down or stop you right in your tracks and not let you move forward. What are some of the most common ones that you found?
Oh, good question. I have found fear of failure, especially amongst, I work with a lot of high achievers.
Yep.
The high achievers' fear of failure is one of the biggest ones. Doubt in themselves of, who am I to go and do this thing? Perfectionism is a big one as well. Fear of just showing up and putting themselves out there, marketing themselves, marketing their business. Doing that is very foreign and uncomfortable for people at first when they're starting to do that. And just self-talk in general, to be honest with you. And that's something that I found on my journey was when I first started my personal growth journey, I started by looking at, how am I talking to myself on an everyday basis? And it was so mean. I was so brutal to myself, always beating myself up, saying, Lexi, you're not enough, or you're late again, or that was stupid, or, it's just everything that I would say to myself was so mean and so harsh. And so when I started to break those things down and catch those thoughts one at a time and become aware of them and then start to change them, that was hugely transformational for me, because a belief is just a thought that you continue to think, and one that gets reinforced by what you see in your external world. So if you can start to catch that and become aware of it and not judge yourself for having it, but just become aware of the times that you say, oh, I'm so stupid. And you start to catch that and then ask yourself, well, am I stupid or did I just not know the answer and I needed help figuring it out? And then you can start to rework that and literally rework the way that your brain is wired and programmed and then change that belief. That has been hugely, hugely transformational for me. And that has transformed the way that I see the world, how I operate in the world. And now I have created really strong foundational beliefs for myself, such as I have a belief that things are always working out for me, even if I can't see it yet, even if something seems like it's really bad and this isn't being toxic, having toxic positivity. This is really having this fundamental belief that what if life is actually meant to be fun and work out for you and be good, you know? So once I started to really change those foundational beliefs in me, my external world began to shift and change and reflect that as well.
Words have power.
Yeah, I fully believe that.
What you believe to be true is true for you. If you keep all the negative self-talk, your subconscious is going to look for proof that that is true. If you begin to pay attention, like you did, and begin to shift the words to something that might serve you more, your subconscious is going to look for proof that that is true.
Yeah.
So it comes down to a choice. With clients, I mentioned, I throw the word choice out all the time. It's your choice. You get to decide, but you must make a choice and you must make a decision for things to shift, for things to move, for things to go in a different direction. But the first part of that is awareness. If you're not even paying attention, you don't even realize how much you're sabotaging yourself by talking yourself down, by saying things that aren't really true when you evaluate them like you did.
Yeah.
Right?
And I really started to ask myself, is the way that I'm talking to myself the way that I would talk to my friends?
Or even a stranger. Would you
even a beautiful, even a stranger? Yes. Yep. And most of the time when I was just starting out, that answer came back, no. I would be so much more loving, so much nicer, so much more understanding with my friends. So why can't I talk to myself like that too and give myself that same love and compassion and understanding that I would give to my friends or, to your point, even to a stranger?
That feels so foreign when you first start doing it because you're so used to the self-criticism, which helps you succeed to a point, right? Well, if I just change this, the outcome will be better. And if I just tweak this, the outcome will be better, which leads us to think, but I messed it up the first time. If I hadn't messed it up, it would look better. But the language could be, oh, look what I learned from here. And now we're going to try it using this set of variables, right? So paying attention to what hasn't worked and finding ways to tweak it rather than immediately putting ourselves down, which is it's so much easier to criticize ourselves than it is to build ourselves up.
Yeah. And I find that all the time, I'm always having conversations with friends or clients or whoever it is around how so many people will now just scroll on social media and just see other people's highlight reels and compare themselves to that without having any awareness of what's actually happening in that person's world. And something that I always say is don't compare someone else's highlight reel to your real life behind the scenes, because there's always more to the story than you know. And I think that's become something that I've seen just amongst my friends to be so big, is they'll scroll on social media and say, well, look at what this person's achieving, or look how happy this person is in the relationship, or look at this, or look at that, when they don't fully even know the full story and don't realize that everyone has things going on. Everyone has challenges they face and fears they have and questions they're asking themselves. But when we sit and scroll on social media on our phones, we're just seeing the highlights and of people's lives, and it'd be so easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to that. So what I always say to people, and you know, my 2 cents for the audience is like, really keep your blinders on and stay focused on your game and you showing up 1% better every day, or your goals that you're trying to achieve, or what your soul is telling you, and trusting that, versus looking outside of you and just comparing yourself to other people's highlight reels that they're putting out online.
Yeah, just because they had 30 seconds of perfection that day
Yeah.
doesn't mean they had any others in the whole week before, you know?
Right. Right.
That's just the part that they could show the world, see how great I am. Well, no, not really.
Yep.
It's like, who do you trust now, right?
Yeah. Especially with AI becoming more prevalent too. It's really who and what do you trust, especially online.
Yeah. And who should you trust? Well, yourself, for
Yeah.
one, but not everybody does.
And that's another really big lesson that I learned is when, especially in entrepreneurship, is like I've spent so many hours by myself that when I was beating myself up all the time, I was like, this isn't going to work. If I need to be on my own team because I spend all of my time with myself. Like I am always with myself. Wherever you go, there you are. And so if you are just beating yourself up all the time, that's going to make for a much more difficult journey than if you are on your own team and cheering yourself on. So when you really do start to make that switch and be more loving with yourself, have more positive self-talk with yourself, like don't take the boxing gloves off and take a break from beating yourself up. That was a major game changer for me because it allowed me to actually cheer myself on and be on my own team first versus being my own worst enemy through this whole process.
I heard something recently, some guy was talking, and he said, every human is put on this planet to take special care of one person. So the person that you're assigned, you can make their day fantastic. You can make their experience the best they've ever had, or you can tear them down very easily. And that one person you're here to take care of is you. So how are you treating yourself that day? What choices are you making to make your experiences here on Earth absolutely fantastic? I love that. Yeah, that was very much one of those ping moments, you know? It's like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. I do get to decide every minute, am I going to be in a negative mindset or am I going to look for the good? Am I going to think the world was here to allow me to experience everything I want to, or I was put on this world to be a punching bag? What message are you going to give that human that you're here to take care of? Yes, you're probably going to take care of kids and family and friends and all that stuff, but they're going to see how you treat the one human you were actually put here to take care of. And what message are you giving them by how you're treating yourself?
I love that. And to take it even a step further, what's the experience that you want to give that one person? Is it living life to its fullest? Is it, you know, making use of your time here and the gifts that you have, the unique skills and impact you want to make? Or are you downplaying that and not feeding into that at all? So what is that experience that you want to give to that person too?
Yep. I mentioned that you're the adventurer. So am I. I traveled all over. I love that.
I love that.
The sun, the water. I feel at peace when I'm around the water. It's just
me too. Oh, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
And especially out here, I feel so thankful because I'm very used to going to the beaches on the East Coast where it's cold and the water is not visible and all the things. And so out here to be able to go into the water where it's warm and really clear and you can swim with the fish and the sea turtles and all the things is amazing. And every time that I put my mask on and go underwater, it's just you are transported to an entirely different
like
world.
Swimming in an aquarium. It
is. And that's been so eye-opening for me and such a cool experience for me of as soon as you put your head in the water, you are just in a totally different world.
Yep.
And it really puts things into perspective of how small you are and how small, not to downplay, you know, people's challenges or anything like that, but how small a lot of those fears and worries that you have actually are, because you see how small of a little speck you are in this whole grand scheme of things. You know what I mean?
Yep. I swimming with the fishies. When I went to Puerto Rico for the first time, I got in with a bunch of scuba divers, right?
Yeah.
And so they would take me around and I ended up giving them a certificate because, you know, they were the master divers of swimming with the fishies. So,
Yeah. I love it.
yeah. So, what type of client do you like to work with the most?
Clients who really value that heart first approach and are doing what they're doing because they want to make a deep impact in the world, and they want to build a business with purpose and with heart, not just for the money. Of course, the money is a piece of it. I believe that when really good people have a lot of money in their hands, they do a lot of really good things with it. And so I love to help the good ones who genuinely have this dream and this calling and genuinely want to make a big impact, but don't know how to get there or don't know how to market that or are afraid to receive money or afraid to charge for their skills or knowledge or expertise. Those people I love working with because those are the most genuine, good-hearted people, and they just need a little help to get there. You know, they just need to rework the beliefs a little bit, need the game plan, need the accountability to help them get there. But the people who really have the deeper calling, and they might not understand it yet, but they know it's something that they need to pursue and want to do it with purpose and intention behind it. I love working with them. And then especially people, you know, like we talked about in both of our worlds, who really value the energy piece of things and tuning into themselves and the personal growth journey and their transformational journey, as well as the business journey. I love working with those people as well.
Cool. So for the people on the call, you have some resources that they might want to take advantage of to learn more about you. Tell me about that.
I do. I have a couple different resources. So to find everything, you can go to my website, lexigodlewski.com. As you mentioned, that'll be in the show notes. I also have a TEDx talk titled How to Live Life Fully. And that's all about the power of leading with your soul and how that can help you live your life to the fullest. So if you want to check that out, just go search How to Live Life Fully on YouTube and it'll come up for you. Or if you want 3 steps that you can start to take to transform your life and business, you can get my free audio training at transformwithsoul.com.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So unfortunately, we're coming up near the end of our time together. But before we go there, you are all over social media, yes?
Correct. Yes. You can find me on every major social media platform, and my handle is at Lexi Godlewski. So just my first and last name.
Cool. And that'll be in the show notes too, if you want to find
Thank
which
you.
platform she's on. Do you happen to have any final thoughts for our listeners before we sign off here?
Oh man, so many. That could be a whole podcast episode in and of itself. Final thoughts that I have for the listeners are, you know, I'll speak for myself. When I was growing up and through school, I was never taught how to listen and trust my intuition. I was taught how to make a pros and cons list. I was taught how to run the numbers, look at the facts, you know, this, that, and the other thing. But when I really started to listen and trust my intuition first, no matter what other people had to say about that, no matter how different of a journey that brought me on, the more that I just took it one step at a time and trusted that through the fear, through the doubt, through the questioning of what the hell am I doing, the more that life showed me what was really possible and how good things can really get. So my final 2 cents for the audience is, if you can even start, and you don't have to make these giant leaps of faith like I did of quitting your job or moving 5,000 miles across the country. Like, you don't have, those were big leaps of faith that I took. You don't have to make big leaps of faith like that. It can be something small. Like, if you've always dreamed of learning how to play guitar, you know, go look up guitar lessons in your hometown. Or if you've always wanted to learn how to make sourdough bread, like, go look up videos on YouTube or something. Like, start small. It doesn't have to be this big giant leap of faith. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. But my call to action for the listeners is just start to listen, trust, and take whatever next step your soul, your gut, your heart, your intuition, whatever you want to call that, is telling you to take, and just see what happens when you do. And if you start to do that slowly, it'll bring you to places that you never even knew were possible.
Cool. Totally agree. I'm big on intuition.
I love it.
Trust yourself. I mean, so many times we get away from trusting ourselves. So your subconscious says, why should I bother to tell you the truth? You're not going to pay attention to me anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
So cool.
And there, I know how that goes.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here. This has been a really
thank
fun.
you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on the show. This was great. I'm so happy that I got to join you today. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Wish I was in Hawaii, but
I know. I wish you were here too. If you come out, let me know.
Cool. I'll do that. Yeah. And for the listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in again. Every Tuesday, we drop a new episode for you. Hopefully, you're finding a lot of value in our conversations because I'm really enjoying myself doing this kind of stuff. But all things must come to an end. So for today, this is your host, Jean Border, with the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey podcast. Until next time.
We trust you enjoyed this episode of the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey podcast. Energy work to better your business. Hosted by energy healer Jean Border. Remember to visit our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey.